We may not be able to change our past, but we can absolutely change what we do with it. Every painful relationship, every heartbreak, every pattern we've repeated, it all holds insight. When we bring awareness, compassion, and responsibility to our inner world, transformation begins. Becoming a better lover does not start with finding someone new. It starts with being someone new to ourselves. It means asking, how do I show up for myself? Do I speak to myself with kindness? Do I set boundaries that reflect my self-worth? Am I choosing love or avoiding loneliness? True change does not happen overnight, but step by step, we learn to choose people who reflect our growth, not our wounds. We seek connection, not validation. We desire peace, not drama. As relationship expert Esther Perel says, the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. And that quality is shaped by the relationship we have with ourselves. So if you've been stuck in the loop of loving the wrong people, know this: you are not broken. You are becoming. Every moment of self-awareness is a step toward wholeness. Every act of self-love is a rehearsal for the love you deserve. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You only need to be honest, open, and willing to grow. We often think that choosing the wrong person is simply bad luck or poor judgment, but the truth is far deeper. Falling for the wrong person is usually not an accident. It is a pattern rooted in psychology, childhood experiences, and emotional needs. The people we are drawn to are often mirrors of our past. And until we become aware of the unconscious reasons behind our attraction, we are destined to repeat the same mistakes. Take Sarah, for example. A successful woman in her 30s, she repeatedly dated emotionally distant men. Her friends would warn her, and the signs were always their late replies, reluctance to commit, avoidant behavior. But Sarah said, "It just feels like home." What she did not realize was that her father was similarly distant, praising her only when she achieved something big. Her relationships became an emotional reenactment of trying to win love from someone who was never fully present. This is how trauma repetition works. According to Dr. Harville Hendrix, co-founder of Imago Relationship Therapy, we are subconsciously drawn to people who resemble the caretakers we had as children, especially in the ways they failed us. It is not a romantic destiny. It is an unhealed wound trying to complete its story. Childhood is our emotional blueprint. The way we are loved or not loved as children sets the tone for every relationship that follows. If love came with conditions, if it was inconsistent or absent, we internalize that as normal. This becomes our attachment style. Let's look at Jason. His mother was kind, but anxious, often overwhelmed and emotionally volatile. One minute she would hug him tightly, the next she would ignore him completely. As an adult, Jason found himself attracted to unpredictable partners. He described them as passionate, spontaneous, exciting. But they also made him feel insecure, constantly questioning if he was enough. According to attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, early interactions with caregivers create a lasting impact on our emotional development. Securely attached children grow up expecting consistency and emotional safety. Insecurely attached children, whether avoidant, anxious, or disorganized, develop strategies to survive love, not enjoy it. The most dangerous part: we are not aware we are reenacting childhood patterns. We think we are making conscious choices, when in fact, it's the wounded inner child calling the shots. Why do we often feel more drawn to people who are mysterious, emotionally unavailable, or unpredictable? On the surface, we might say it's because they are more exciting. But beneath that thrill lies something deeper and more troubling. Inconsistency triggers our brain's reward system. This phenomenon has been studied extensively in psychology. According to behavioral scientist B. Pfeffer Skinner's experiments, intermittent reinforcement when rewards are given unpredictably is more addictive than consistent rewards. It creates a psychological loop where we chase approval, never knowing when or if it will come. Emily is a perfect example. Her last partner, Alex, would shower her with affection one week and then pull away the next. She never knew where she stood. And yet, she described the relationship as passionate. When he was sweet, it felt like winning the lottery, she said. That high made me forget all the lows. In truth, Emily was experiencing a biochemical trap. The highs of Alex's attention released dopamine, a pleasure hormone, but the unpredictable lows created anxiety and craving. Over time, her nervous system confused this cycle with love. Sometimes our choices in love reflect not what we want, but what we think we deserve. Deep down, unresolved beliefs about our worth can silently guide us toward partners who validate our wounds rather than heal them. Take Olivia. She was confident in her career but deeply insecure in relationships. She often chose partners who were emotionally unavailable. When asked why, she said, "Because I don't want to burden someone. I am too much." Her sense of being too much came from a childhood where her parents dismissed her emotions as dramatic. She learned to shrink herself to be loved. According to schema therapy, these core beliefs are known as schemas, mental frameworks developed in early life that shape how we interpret the world. If someone has an abandonment schema, they might tolerate emotional neglect just to avoid being alone. If they hold a defectiveness schema, they may gravitate toward partners who criticize or belittle them. This is not self-sabotage. It is psychological survival. We return to familiar emotional terrain because it feels safe, even if it hurts. Healing requires becoming aware of these core beliefs and challenging them. Only then can we begin to choose love from a place of self-worth. Passion can feel intoxicating. The butterflies, the thrill of every text, the burning desire to be near someone, all these emotions are powerful. But passion, while exciting, can also be deceiving. It is often mistaken for love, when in reality, it is simply chemistry. Consider Daniel and Mia. From the moment they met, their connection was electric. They talked all night, finished each other's sentences, and had physical chemistry that felt cinematic. But 6 months in, they were constantly arguing, unable to agree on future goals or values. Yet, they kept going back to each other saying, "But the passion is still there." According to psychologist Dr. Helen Fisher, passion is driven by dopamine, which is part of the brain's reward system. It is similar to the high we get from sugar or gambling. The problem? Dopamine fades. Compatibility, communication, and emotional safety, those are the foundations of real love. We are often drawn to what is familiar or what gives us a rush, even if it is not sustainable. Real love is not constant fireworks. It is steady, respectful, and built on trust. When we understand that passion is only one ingredient in a healthy relationship, we stop chasing temporary highs and start investing in lasting intimacy. Loneliness is a powerful emotion. It can drive people to make choices they would otherwise avoid. Many of us enter relationships not out of deep connection, but out of fear of being alone, fear of being left behind, fear of confronting our emptiness. Rebecca had just turned 30 when she started dating Brian. He was rude to waiters, never remembered important details about her life, and often dismissed her opinions. Yet she stayed. "I just didn't want to go back to sleeping alone," she confessed. At least someone was there. This emotional bargain is more common than we think. Studies in social psychology have shown that people are more likely to tolerate low-quality relationships when their fear of loneliness is high. According to Dr. Guy Winch, author of Emotional First Aid, chronic loneliness affects the brain like physical pain. It makes us desperate for relief, even if it means accepting harmful company. When we associate our value with whether or not we are partnered, we are more likely to settle for less. We tolerate neglect, disrespect, even emotional abuse, simply because the alternative, being alone, feels more terrifying. Healing begins with reclaiming solitude, learning to sit with ourselves, to enjoy our own presence, to see being alone, not as failure but as freedom, is essential. Only when we are no longer afraid of being alone can we truly choose someone who enhances our life rather than fills a void. Red flags are warning signs, and they are almost always present in the early stages of a relationship. Yet many of us ignore them. Why? Because the fantasy of love often feels more comforting than the truth. Take the story of Lily. On her third date, her partner made a cruel joke at her expense in front of friends. It stung, but she laughed it off. Later, he frequently criticized her choices, questioned her intelligence, and guilt-tripped her into apologizing for things she did not do. Still, she stayed. He was going through a rough time, she explained. He's not always like that. Psychologist Dr. Ramani Durvasula notes that this denial is part of a cognitive dissonance mechanism. We want to preserve the image we have of the other person, so we downplay the evidence. The fear of starting over, of admitting we were wrong, or of facing rejection all make us minimize bad behavior. Another reason? Many of us were raised in environments where red flags were normalized. If you grew up watching emotional manipulation or verbal abuse, you may not even recognize them as harmful. Familiar does not equal safe. But the brain, wired for repetition, gravitates toward the known even if it's toxic. Learning to recognize red flags requires emotional literacy. It means trusting your gut when something feels off, even if the other person is charming or successful. Awareness is the first step. Boundaries are the next. Sometimes the people who are best for us make us the most uncomfortable. Why? Because they challenge our core beliefs about love and intimacy. When someone treats us with consistent care, respect, and emotional availability, it can feel unfamiliar, even threatening if we are not used to it. Mark had always been in dramatic, emotionally chaotic relationships. When he met Julia, kind, supportive, and emotionally stable woman, he felt anxious. "She's too nice. It feels off," he admitted. He started picking fights, pulling away, and eventually left. Later, he realized he confused stability with boredom. Psychotherapist Dr. Margaret Paul explains that people with unresolved emotional trauma often experience fear when faced with healthy intimacy. Their inner child expects rejection or abandonment, so when love shows up in a safe form, it triggers a subconscious defense, sabotage. Healthy love requires us to let go of our old definitions of excitement and passion. It means allowing ourselves to be seen, accepted, and valued, not for what we perform, but for who we are. That level of vulnerability can be terrifying if we have never felt safe before. Healing involves retraining the nervous system to associate calm with safety, not danger. It means embracing kindness, consistency, and emotional availability as love, not as threats. Healing is not a linear journey. It involves discomfort, grief, awareness, and eventually transformation. Many of us believe we must find the perfect partner to feel whole, but the truth is, wholeness comes from within. A healthy relationship is the result, not the source, of emotional healing. Samantha spent years in one unhealthy relationship after another. She often said, "I just attract toxic people." But with therapy and introspection, she began to realize she had never truly learned how to set boundaries or speak her needs. She feared that if she did, love would leave. Through inner work, journaling, therapy, breathwork, and support groups, Samantha slowly rewrote her narrative. She discovered that when she treated herself with love, she no longer tolerated people who didn't. According to trauma recovery expert Dr. Nicole LaPera, healing involves nervous system regulation, self-compassion, and reparenting our inner child. It means acknowledging our wounds, not hiding them. It means asking ourselves, what did I need as a child that I never received, and how can I give that to myself now? Healing is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. When we nurture emotional maturity within, we become naturally drawn to relationships that reflect that maturity back. Emotional awareness is the ability to recognize, name, and respond to our internal emotional states. It is the foundation of emotional intelligence and plays a crucial role in breaking unhealthy relationship cycles. Without awareness, we operate from habit. With awareness, we reclaim choice. Consider Jonah. After a painful breakup, he began noticing a pattern. Each time a partner became emotionally available, he felt overwhelmed. But instead of asking why, he would shut down or sabotage the connection. Through mindfulness and journaling, Jonah uncovered a deep belief: if someone sees the real me, they will leave. This insight allowed him to challenge that belief and respond differently. Therapists often say, you can't heal what you won't feel. Becoming emotionally aware means we stop numbing, avoiding, or intellectualizing our pain. It means we sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. Tools like journaling, body scanning, breathwork, and emotional labeling can help us track emotional triggers and patterns. By increasing awareness, we develop what psychologist Daniel Goleman calls metacognition, the ability to observe ourselves in the moment. This allows us to pause, reflect, and choose a new path rather than automatically reacting. Real transformation happens when we can say, this feels familiar, but I do not have to repeat it. That is the power of emotional awareness. It interrupts the past from writing our future. We may not be able to change our past, but we can absolutely change what we do with it. Every painful relationship, every heartbreak, every pattern we've repeated, it all holds insight. When we bring awareness, compassion, and responsibility to our inner world, transformation begins. Becoming a better lover does not start with finding someone new. It starts with being someone new to ourselves. It means asking, how do I show up for myself? Do I speak to myself with kindness? Do I set boundaries that reflect my self-worth? Am I choosing love or avoiding loneliness? True change does not happen overnight, but step by step, we learn to choose people who reflect our growth, not our wounds. We seek connection, not validation. We desire peace, not drama. As relationship expert Esther Perel says, the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. And that quality is shaped by the relationship we have with ourselves. So if you've been stuck in the loop of loving the wrong people, know this: you are not broken. You are becoming. Every moment of self-awareness is a step toward wholeness. Every act of self-love is a rehearsal for the love you deserve. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You only need to be honest, open, and willing to grow.